Cora, before we move into the actual baptism, it's incumbent upon me to give a brief explanation of baptism as well as make a charge to Cora's parents, BJ and Karis, who are presenting their daughter for baptism. So a brief explanation and charge. Well, by way of explanation, there are many ways to approach the topic of baptism throughout the Bible. And one that came to my mind this week was from actually Ezekiel's vision of this new temple in the chapters of Ezekiel 40 through 47. Ezekiel has this incredible vision where there's going to be a new temple. If you'll recall, in Israel's history, Solomon's temple had been destroyed by the Babylonians. God's people are in exile, and they're wondering when God is going to show up again, save his people like he did saving them out of Egypt, and bless his people. In chapter 47, Ezekiel has this vision where there's this new temple, and in the very heart of the temple, the Holy of Holies, there's waters that are flowing out of the temple. And as these waters flow out of this new temple that Ezekiel sees in the future, the waters get bigger and stronger and deeper as they flow further out and out into the land. And the land has essentially become a desert place. But as these waters flowing from the Holy of Holies go out into the land is restored. And then as you get into the New Testament and Jesus shows up on the scene, well, John tells us in his gospel that Jesus comes and he tabernacles with his people. See, the temple represented the fact that God dwelt with his people in a very intimate way. And when Jesus shows up and says he tabernacles with his people, what John is saying is that, well, Jesus is this new temple that Ezekiel envisioned. Moreover, later in John's gospel, in John chapter 7, Jesus stands up and proclaims, "Whoever believes in me, out of his innermost being will flow rivers of living water." There's this theme that not only is Jesus this temple, but also those who believe in him, his church, are an embodiment of this new temple that God is building. Of course, the New Testament says that we are all living stones in this new temple that God is building. And so in the church, when we have the baptismal waters, this is a representation of what Ezekiel was showing. The fact that the waters of living, the living waters of Christ are flowing out of his church, out of the temple, and they're going forth into the land to bring restoration and healing to all people. And so as Cora's baptized this morning, all of this is being proclaimed and much, much more. That God is the God who comes and tabernacles with his people. God is here with us by his Spirit this morning. And he is the God who is good to save his people, as is represented in all of the water imagery throughout the Bible, where this water goes out, bringing restoration and salvation. And so we consider these things as we come to the baptism this morning. And now, by way of charge, BJ and Karis, as you present Cora for baptism this morning, I would simply say this to you. Jesus has given his people living waters so that whenever we drink from these waters, we will never thirst again. And so as Cora's parents, my charge to you is this: for as long as Cora is in your charge, give her these rivers of living water, as they are offered to all of God's people in his word by the Spirit. So always give these rivers of living water to her, so that she may never thirst again, but rest wholly in her salvation in Christ Jesus. So, with that explanation and charge being given, let's go through the vows.